I never imagined that the people who raised me, the ones who were supposed to protect me, would end up stealing from me for 10 whole years. But that's exactly what happened. 10 years of payments made in my name, money that was meant to help me survive, help me walk better, help me live with dignity, gone. And all it took was one simple question from my grandpa to make the entire truth come crashing down. One question that no innocent person would hesitate to answer, but my family froze. And today I want to ask you the same thing I asked myself the day everything exploded. Was I wrong for what I did next? Or would you have done the same if you discovered your own family had lived off your disability for a decade, while you struggled just to get by? It all started unraveling the day my grandpa called me over to his house for a little talk. But to truly understand the storm that came after, I need to take you back to when I was too young to understand paperwork, too trusting to question anything, too desperate for validation. Ever believe that my own family could betray me? I was born with a condition that affects my mobility. Not enough to keep me from walking entirely, but enough that I needed physical therapy, medications, braces, and regular checkups. The doctors always said early intervention would help me the most, and that I should apply for disability assistance as soon as I turned 18. I was nervous about it, but my mom said she'd take care of everything. She filled out the forms, took me to the appointments, made calls. At least that's what she told me. A few months later, she told me the government had denied my application. She said they didn't think my condition was serious enough. At that age, I didn't know any better, so I believed her. When you grow up relying on your family for help with even the simplest tasks, you trust what they tell you. I never questioned it. My mother always portrayed herself as the overworked martyr, the one who had to sacrifice everything to take care of me. My older brother was the golden child, healthy, athletic, praised for everything. I was the one who needs help. As a kid, I accepted it. As a teenager, I started to resent it, and as an adult, I began questioning whether the narrative they fed me was even true. After that supposed rejection, things were hard. I took whatever part-time jobs I could manage, but anything too physical was out of the question. Sometimes I needed more therapy sessions, but couldn't afford them. Sometimes my braces cracked or wore out, and replacing them was too expensive. My mom would sigh dramatically and tell me they just didn't have the money because of all the bills. She made me feel guilty for even needing anything. Comments like "you're so expensive to take care of," or "if you were healthy like your brother, life would be easier," slowly chewed away at my self-worth. I internalized all of it. But everything shifted when I got a temporary job as an office assistant in a small accounting firm. I wasn't doing accounting, but I handled paperwork, mail, records, and I learned things. Things like how government assistance works, what kinds of letters beneficiaries receive, how often payments are issued. One afternoon, just out of curiosity, I looked up information about disability programs again. I wanted to know if maybe, just maybe, I could try applying on my own now that I was older and more independent. When I typed my information into the government portal, I froze. I refreshed the page, then I refreshed it again. According to the system, I had been approved for disability benefits. Not recently, not last year, but 10 years ago. Payments every single month, retroactive benefits, annual adjustments. The entire decade was logged. My name, my ID, everything, except the address they had on file wasn't mine. Well, technically it was, but it wasn't my room or my mailbox. It was my parents' home address, and attached to my account was a bank account number I didn't recognize. Later, I learned it was a joint account belonging to my mom and dad. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe identity theft, maybe some glitch, anything but what it really was. But then I remembered the envelopes I saw my mom hide, the time she rushed to the mailbox so I wouldn't check it, the odd comments my brother made, comments like "at least your condition is good," something, or "don't worry, your situation is helping us out." Back then I thought he was joking, now I knew he wasn't. I realized in that moment that my family hadn't been burdened by my disability. They'd been profiting from it. I sat at my desk shaking, scrolling through the payment history. It was more money than I had ever earned in my life. Enough to cover treatments I never got, enough to replace equipment I was always told was too expensive, enough to send me to college without loans, enough to change my life, and they had taken every penny. When I got home that day, I noticed things I'd never questioned before. My mom always had the newest phone. My brother had bought a motorcycle with his savings. They went on weekend trips without me, saying they needed a break. I was always struggling, always broke, always made to feel like a burden, but they had been collecting my checks the entire time. One evening, my mom left a transparent folder on the counter. She always left papers lying around, assuming I wouldn't care. This one had receipts with my name on them, letters from the government, benefit documentation. I reached for it, and she snatched it out of my hands so fast I flinched. "That's not yours," she snapped, "but it was mine. It was literally my life on those papers." She tried to claim it was old paperwork, and that I wouldn't understand it anyway. But I had seen too much. For the next few weeks I stayed quiet, I acted normal, and I watched, I listened. Suddenly comments that once seemed harmless were dripping with meaning. "When the next payment comes, we need that extra money this month. Your situation really helps us out, you know." My brother once called me our little investment. He laughed, but I knew he meant it. I felt disgusted. Then came the day my grandpa invited me over. He had always treated me differently, not like a burden, but like an actual person. He was the only one who asked how I was doing, how I was feeling, what I needed. He noticed things. He paid attention, and that afternoon, while we were drinking coffee at his dining table, he casually asked, "So, are you still getting your disability payments every month?" I nearly spit my coffee out. I told him I had never been approved. He frowned deeply and said, "What do you mean? Your mother told me you were approved years ago. She even showed me one of the statements to explain why you didn't need me to help pay for your therapy." My heart dropped. If he had seen statements, then my parents weren't just hiding things from me, they were lying to everyone. At that moment, every puzzle piece clicked into place. I felt sick, betrayed, angry, hurt all at once. And it was the first time I asked myself the question that I am now asking you. What would you do if you discovered that your own family stole from you for a decade and made you suffer so they could live comfortably? Because that's exactly where I was. And what I did next wasn't peaceful. When I left my grandpa's house, something inside me snapped. For the first time, I felt a kind of strength that came from finally knowing the truth. I contacted the benefits office. I told them I had never received any payments. They scheduled a meeting for me. When I went in, they confirmed everything. The payments had always gone to my parents' account. There was no authorization under my name. Nothing about it was legal. They printed documents showing the fraud, explained how to file a report, and what the next steps would be. I held those papers in my hands and started crying, not out of sadness, but because for the first time I had proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy, proof that I hadn't been too expensive, proof that the reason I had struggled so much wasn't because I deserved it, but because someone had taken what belonged to me. I called my mom. She didn't answer. I called my brother. He hung up on me. When I got home, they were sitting in the living room like they were waiting. I told them I knew everything. My mom immediately switched to her victim tone, saying, "We did it for your own good. You wouldn't know how to handle that money. You're too naive." My dad didn't even look at me when he said, "It's family money. You're part of the family, so it's fine." That sentence made me feel like I had been punched. They didn't think they had done anything wrong. They believed they were entitled to my benefits. My brother stepped in only to tell me I was being dramatic and selfish. When I mentioned the government office and that they knew, my mom's expression changed instantly. She started yelling that I was ruining their lives, that she had sacrificed everything for me, that I owed them, that without them I wouldn't have survived childhood. She screamed that I was ungrateful, that I was tearing the family apart. My brother told me to drop it, because everyone benefited from it, and that I should be thankful they managed the money. But the truth was so simple. They didn't manage anything, they stole. That night, I didn't sleep under their roof. I went straight to my grandpa's house, and when I finally broke down and told him everything, he held me like a child and said, "You're not alone. You're finally free." With his support, I filed the report. I submitted every document, every statement, every screenshot. The investigation took months, but eventually it happened. My parents were found responsible for fraud. They didn't go to jail, but they were forced to pay back a massive amount. They were hit with penalties. And their reputation in the family, completely destroyed. My mom said I had betrayed them, but the truth is they betrayed me first. With the retroactive payments I finally received, I paid for the therapies I had needed my entire life. My mobility improved more in 1 year than it had in the previous 10. I moved out, got a better brace, got the medical support I had always been denied. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. Today, I don't speak to my parents or my brother. They cut me off, blocked me, disowned me, all because I refused to let them keep stealing from me. Some days it hurts. Some days I wonder if I went too far. But then I remember the years I spent confused, in pain, struggling, while they used my disability as a paycheck. Now that you've heard everything, here's what I want to leave you with. Family doesn't give you the right to take advantage of someone. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. And sometimes the only way to save yourself is to stop protecting the people who hurt you. If you would have done the same thing I did, hit the like button. Subscribe for more stories like this. And tell me in the comments what you think about this whole mess. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.